All right, let's speak to Chris Doyle, a commentator on Middle Eastern affairs. He's also the director on the Council for Arab-British Understanding, live for us from Kent in the UK. Thanks very much, Chris. Some strong words there from the US leaders. Now, Tehran has also begun its own efforts to find this missing crew member from the downed plane over Iran. What could happen, do you think, if the US isn't able to get there first and rescue its crew member? And what sort of optics would that bring moving forward, given that they've lost perhaps more personnel?
Well, it would be an extraordinary situation if the Iranian military security services apprehended a US pilot, because then you would find that the Trump administration would be hoping that the Iranian authorities would show far greater respect for international law than hitherto, but also that of the American administration itself, that has normally been very dismissive of international legal requirements. Of course, Iran would be obligated to treat the pilot according to the Geneva Convention, to look after that pilot, not to parade any pilot in front of TV cameras and to use the pilot as a propaganda tool. So who knows what exactly will happen? Of course, if the United States commits special forces to going in, as it appears to have done so, it also runs the risk of those special forces being attacked, injured, killed as well. So it's a very nervy moment, I think, for the Trump administration. And remember also that Donald Trump has referred in the past to 1980 Operation Eagle Claw, when President Carter sent in helicopters into Iran, into the Salt Desert, and some of those helicopters weren't fully functional, and it was huge embarrassment on the world stage. So the Pentagon will be very anxious to secure their pilot and to get the pilot out safely, whereas Iran, of course, will be hoping for the propaganda prize.
Right, and Iran Iran has said this time round that they're using a more sophisticated detection system, I guess. They've used it to down these planes. But also, Trump's saying to NBC News that the downing of the US jet won't affect negotiations. That's the US perspective. What about the Iranian perspective on this? Because I presume such an incident, and if it happens again, could perhaps give them some leverage.
I think for Iran, they will be trying to make the most of this, to be able to say that they have now a degree of deterrence, that line that the United States and Israel had complete control of the airspace is no longer valid. I think questions are going to be asked as to quite how Iran has suddenly been able to do this. Is this a fluke? Or is it some new capability, perhaps they have achieved with the assistance of some other power? We've already seen accusations that Russia has been helping Iran. So what will this mean? As for negotiations, I don't think it'll probably change the negotiating position of the Trump administration, such as it is.
Right.
Will it make the Iranians more confident? Arguably.
And Chris, there has been an interception over a strategic place in Dubai. That's Internet City. It's, as we were talking to Malik, there's a tourist destination around that area. It's along the coast. It's a very popular area. Now, Iran has been stepping up its threats against places in the GCC when it comes to AI and data centers. Could that be the next plan for Iran in terms of moving this war forward for them and making more gains, perhaps? Because some of these companies that they say they're targeting are some of the biggest American companies there are.
Well, this is a major threat. Of course, these companies, if attacked, are hardly going to want to position their data centers and businesses in the Gulf in the future if they are bombed. And it shows, and I think this is important, it's important in terms of how Iran is trying to put out its own image and its capabilities, that they can escalate this conflict still, that they are not retreating, but they are looking at new targets. They are able, even 5 weeks into this war, to demonstrate that they have these capabilities far from their missile factories and storage depots being destroyed. They are able to actually damage and destroy in multiple countries. It is quite extraordinary, and I think it just rips up this whole hubristic notion that Iran was a failing state, it couldn't really stand up to the Americans. It's being demonstrated that symmetrically and asymmetrically, Iran is able to withstand US-Israeli strikes, at least for the moment,
All right,
in a way that very few had predicted.
OK, thank you very much for your thoughts there. Chris Doyle in the UK.